A very good morning to you guys. Welcome to Breakfast Club. This is Asake Online. My name is Brighton Ncube. You know, in the upcoming few weeks, we're going to have our by-elections on the 9th of December, and many parties are campaigning and contesting for the upcoming by-elections. And today, to help me unpick their campaign and tell us who they are as a party is EFF Zimbabwe President, that's Innocent Ndibali, joining me this morning. And also is our MP aspiring for Lopengula Makwekwe constituency. Good morning, sir. Welcome to the show this morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here, and thank you for inviting us. But just to correct, I contested the MP for Lopengula Makwekwe in the last elections, and this time, yes, there are by-elections that include Makwekwe Lopengula constituency. Unfortunately, I traveled, and by the time I submitted my papers, if you notice, my name was ahead of the nomination court, but they couldn't accept my other documents because I had, given my documents to my representatives. But unfortunately, they needed originals that had been reported as missing to the police. But so I didn't manage to contest. But however, Ward 18 falls within Lopengula Makwekwe constituency. We are contesting there. We've got a council candidate who is contesting there. So yes, we are contesting, but I'm not the current aspiring MP for.
Let's talk about EFF Zimbabwe. Before we talk about EFF Zimbabwe, who is Innocent Ndibali in terms of politics? Give us a political background.
Right. Innocent Ndibali is a son of a Zipra ground force who fought very well in the liberation movement. And Innocent Ndibali joined part of Zapu when it was being revived under Tumiso Tabengwa. And then Innocent Ndibali led the youth front of the Zapu by then. And then I moved to run an organization called Zimbabwe Unemployed People's Association, where we covered a lot of ground. And then we moved on to bring the EFF in 2016, where we had already participated in the formation of the EFF in South Africa. You remember, or maybe you may not be aware, that before the EFF was formed, when Comrade Malema was kind of suspended from the ANC, he came to London, and I happened to be in London with other colleagues, and we interacted, not directly with him, but with his team. And we were aware that they were going to form an organization outside ANC. And we were partaking in those discussions until they went to consult the people of South Africa at Anglo Tom's Hall. We were following very closely. And when eventually they were mandated by the people of South Africa to form the EFF, and we continued to work together until we decided to bring the EFF in Zimbabwe in 2016. You remember that when EFF was brought in Zimbabwe, I was invited as a guest at a particular platform, I think the Media Center. And after that, President Robert Mugabe panicked, and he arrested me, and I was in court for more than 8 weeks. But I defeated him because they thought they could stop the EFF in Zimbabwe, and they thought they could stop Innocent Ndibali from leading this revolutionary movement that is engulfing Africa. EFF is an unstoppable revolutionary movement that is connected across the continent and fighting for economic freedom in our lifetime.
You said to me you were part of Zapu. You left Zapu and went under Tumiso Tabengwa. Why did you leave Zapu to join EFF Zimbabwe?
I left Zapu almost in the same circumstances like Comrade Malema in the way he left the ANC. Remember this liberation movement, they fought the liberation, and I must say they did fight very well. But however, we are a new generation that is very much interested in delivering economic freedom in our lifetime. I was very radical in Zapu, but remember that the old guard is very slow, and not that we are against them, but we believe that we are in a hurry. We've got a deadline. That's why we say economic freedom in our lifetime. The deadline is such that we've got an appointment with the future. So we've got to move. So they could not contain my kind of politics, because I wanted Zapu to demonstrate to the people that it is a new Zapu, it is an energetic Zapu. But unfortunately, no, it was like, hayi, maningi kancane bafana, hayi, abajahanga, thina sijahile.
So what do you think of the issue of leadership? To say there are people who have been in power for too long, maybe also in the alternative, also in the ruling party in Zimbabwe, they've been in power for too long, they don't give young people the chance. What can you say about that, whereby you hang in for to power for too long?
Right. You see, for us, the issue of being in power for whatever time is immaterial, really. But what we are more concerned about is delivery. What are you in power for? Are you in power to deliver, or are you in power for your own individual interest? So, because you realize that the politics that we are pushing is the socialist politics. If you look across the Limpopo there, where we've got our commander-in-chief, he is still eligible to contest for another term, and he can contest for whatever terms until he feels that he doesn't want to contest. We do not believe in these term limits. But however, what we can say is that those who have stayed in power for so long, they must demonstrate to us why. In the opposition, let me talk from the opposition side. In the opposition, we have seen people who've been in power, who've been there for a long time, career politicians. In fact, they are failed career politicians in opposition. Who've got some, you say that they've got their following, and some say they are popular. Popular with who? Because, as I have said, that Japreza, Enzo, Wikindi, even some of our artists from this side, Omadlela, all those guys are popular. But it doesn't mean they are the alternative. So those people in opposition, especially who've been here for a long time, they must consider, what have they done? Can you show me anything solid that since MDCT or MDC was formed, 99, what have they delivered? What have they put together? In the ruling party, I can tell you that, okay, let's start from the time of the Liberation War. The Liberation War was fought, and it was a vicious war. It was not a war where there was WhatsApp. There was no WhatsApp. The men who stood up must be applauded and must be respected. Some of them are still with us. Some of them, we are saying to them, let us, the young, pick the spear from where you left, and we run with it, so that we can deliver economic freedom in our lifetime. You've delivered political freedom. Let us deliver economic freedom to our people as the EFF.
Right. Let's talk about EFF. I'm sure people are watching the show right now. They're asking themselves, they're wondering. So say, there's EFF South Africa and then there's EFF Zimbabwe. Where do you get your mandate from? From the EFF South Africa, the Commander-in-Chief, Julius Malema, or you have your own manifesto, you have your own objectives, or you have similar objectives? Maybe give us a background, the EFF Zimbabwe and EFF South Africa.
Right. We are starting from a point whereby, as EFF, we believe that Africa is one. We believe that there can never be a foreigner of African origin in Africa. I cannot be a foreigner in South Africa. I cannot be a foreigner in Zambia. A South African cannot be a foreigner in Zimbabwe. So we believe that we are one continent. Coming to the EFF that brought and gave birth to the ideology of economic freedom in our lifetime is the one that was born in July 2013. You notice that the t-shirt that I'm wearing is from the 10th anniversary that I was part of as an officially invited guest, the President of Zimbabwe, where we were celebrating the birthday of a revolutionary movement that is engulfing the whole continent. So we are one, we are related. But however, Zimbabwe EFF is a political party in its own right, regulated by the laws of Zimbabwe, regulated by the electoral rules and laws of the country, where we are got a constitution that has been accepted by ZEC. We've got structures. We went to our Congress. Our Congress is called the National People's Assembly. 21st of May 2021, we held a National People's Assembly of the EFF in Kai, where as the leader of the EFF, yes, I'm the founding president of the EFF in Zimbabwe, but I had to go to the people to seek the mandate of the people, to lead the EFF, to lead the revolutionary party like the EFF in Zimbabwe. So they gave me the mandate on the 21st of May 2021. Our next NPA is in 2026. EFF's next National People's Assembly, if I'm not mistaken, is not very far as well. But we are together. We've got EFF in Liberia, EFF in Zambia, EFF in Malawi, EFF in Namibia. We've got EFF in Ghana, Uganda, Lesotho, Swaziland. We are one. We believe in a borderless Africa. We want the borders must fall. You can't say you are an anti-colonialist, yet you still support the borders. We are very clear that the issue of land across Africa must be nationalized, and every African must have access to land. You hear someone say, hey, in Zimbabwe, we've resolved the issue of land. Far from it. You see that people have got no houses. People are living in back rooms, lodgers. They've got no land. And you hear the same people saying the issue of land has been resolved. What about your children? We must nationalize the land so that we can redistribute it for people who are going to be utilizing the land, who can utilize the land for either own building or for commercial purposes. So we are very clear across Africa. So our relationship as EFF is that is actually bound by the blood and sweat of our forefathers who fought imperialism, who defeated imperialism. We have said we will never allow this continent to be colonized. Right now, the continent is it is very vulnerable. We do not have the nuclear weapon to protect the continent. We can be recolonized anytime. But only the EFF is very clear that we are going to take over this continent, whether a capitalist like it or not. We will take over this continent. We are not Triple C. We are not NDC. We are a revolutionary party that is building structures. It will take time. Some people say, how did you fare in the previous elections? We will tell you that from where we are sitting, we fared very well because we are growing organically from the ground. It will take time to shift people's perspective of celebrity politicians to politicians who are of substance, who are very clear that we are a leftist organization, a Fanonian organization. We believe in socialism, moving from the economy, from the hands of the few to the hands of many, so that we can all benefit.
But you're part of Zapu in your early political life, and I know many years ago, maybe over three decades, people were killed from Matebele and part of Midlands during Kukurawund, and over 20,000 people were killed during Kukurawund. As the EFF Zimbabwe, what's your stance in terms of solving the issue of Kukurawund, and how do you react to the issue of the government coming up with an NPRC to solve Kukurawund?
Right. We have always said that the issue of Kukurawundi is a very sad chapter of our country that must be resolved decisively. It must be resolved in a manner that does not intend to divide our people. It must be, at all material time, be aimed at uniting our people, promoting development and peace among our community, not a retribution, not division. Okay, so we have seen that the current government, we know that the government of President Mugabe could not apologize to the people of this region to say that, sorry, this must never happen again. But we know that President Mugabe regarded it as a moment of madness. A moment of madness means that whoever was perpetrating those atrocities were perpetrating those atrocities in a manner that was equivalent of a mad person. So we believe that the government must take serious steps to resolve this, but we are happy that the current president has been very open about it to say that let the communities in Matebeleland come forward and lead in these discussions. But it must never be that we as the EFF, we were never founded to pursue retribution. We are for a united, borderless continent where we are going to develop together. So it should never be a division. So we are happy that the platform that has been created must deliver. Those people who've been put in those structures must deliver. You see, the tendency, the problem that we have in Africa is that people are put in certain structures, including government agencies, to deliver, but they fail to deliver. Not because they can't, just because they think that by not delivering, they are appeasing someone. But in actual fact, they would have been given a mandate which has got a constitutional guidance to say your role as the chairperson of this maybe Section 12 institution is this. But they failed to do so. Look at the anti-corruption structure that is there. I believe that it is not necessarily that I can stand up as the leader of the EFF and say that it is not the president who's delivering that. I believe that the structures that the government, the structures that are supposed to support the government, like the anti-corruption, must actually deliver. I think the people in those offices must actually, either if they cannot deliver, they must ship out. Same as in the Kukurawundi platform. Those who cannot deliver, yet they've been given the mandate to deliver, they must deliver.
Speaking of church institutions like ZAC, for example, speaking of ZAC for now, let's look at the ZAC as well. The August 23 elections, we saw in some parts of the country where ballot papers were late to be delivered there. Some people continued to vote till the following day. Let's reflect on the elections. How did the EFF fare out? And were you happy with where ZAC did the elections?
Yes, we must say, look, the elections went reasonably peaceful. We campaigned as the EFF, particularly in this region. We did not campaign that much in Mashonaland or Manicaland. So I can only speak authoritatively from this side. We did not experience any violence as a political party. I'll be telling a lie. We campaigned, we met Triple C in the community, we met ZANU-PF in the community, we met other parties, Zapu, Mtwagazi. In fact, the relationship on campaign was cordial. I remember I taught the gardens in Makwekwe. I met the ZANU-PF people campaigning there, and we exchanged greetings. We met the Triple C campaigning in town, and we were waving each other. In Chabala, there was no incident. But yes, the voting delayed. We had in various voting stations like Njamate, Makwekwe Hall, and other constituencies, other voting stations, there was a delay. We believe that this must be avoided to try and make sure that everyone who has gotten up in the morning to vote does not end up giving up and going home. Mm-hmm. So I think that should be looked into, and the ZEC must reflect on that. But I cannot stand up here and say that the EFF did not win because someone rigged elections against the EFF. Yeah. I don't believe that. I believe that we've got a lot of work to do as the EFF so that people can begin the process of trusting us and begin to understand what we are saying. But in terms of the general atmosphere during elections, the elections were peaceful. I think it's very, very important to say that. But then we hear that other people were calling for fresh elections, and other people were saying, for us as the EFF where we're standing, we believe the elections came and gone, and we believe that the Zimbabwe chose a particular candidate. We believe that the candidates that were at the top, because we did not field the presidential candidate. The candidates that were at the top was Comrade Chamisa and Comrade Idi Mnangagwa. They were the ones who were right at the forefront, and they defeated each other. According to what we have seen one of them getting declared as the winner, and we have seen one of them getting inaugurated, and we've seen one of them getting presented to the world and to the people of Zimbabwe as the duly elected president. And we have not seen, EFF has not gone to court, my brother. We have not seen any political party that has gone to court to challenge the legitimacy of the president. We have not done so as the EFF. So therefore, I want to tell you that the EFF is very clear that Zimbabwe does have a president.
So you look at the outcome of elections.
We are not happy with the outcome of our numbers, but we understand. But it does not translate to say we do not see the result of the elections as having delivered a president for Zimbabwe. We do not believe that currently Zimbabwe is presidentless. Zimbabwe has a president. If we had any belief that he was not, we would have gone to court. Mm-hmm. But I have not been given a mandate as the president of EFF to go to court because we do not have the evidence. For us, EFF, people must understand this. EFF does not blow hot air. We will not say that so-and-so has rigged an election without evidence. If you hear us saying that, we will have solid evidence that will pass any reasonable basis in court. And we can demonstrate that this is what happened. Where I'm sitting, I don't have that evidence.
Also, to quote Julius Malema, the Commander-in-Chief of the EFF South Africa, he says, about Sadak. Sadak is useless, right? But you saw also Sadak observe nations in Zimbabwe. You also the EU observe nations in Zimbabwe. They come up with their reports. Some of the key issues in their reports were like the issue of election not free and fair. They missed some of the principles of electoral principles. How do you relate to those things? Now with this report saying this, how do you relate to that for that as the EFF Zimbabwe?
Yeah, I mean, look, Sadak has always been a grouping of these old people drinking coffee and cakes, doing absolutely nothing. You see, when we talk of Sadak, do not just put Sadak as a political tool, because Sadak has got different, kind of departments. Sadak has got also a mandate to deal with the security of the region, to deal with obviously food security, to deal with many issues. And we believe that Sadak has failed as the EFF, and we believe that Sadak must actually be revived, just like we believe that the United Nations is a useless body that needs to be recalibrated, that needs to give Africa a permanent seat and a veto power in the Security Council. And we are very clear as the EFF that if those things, like obviously Sadak going up there to UN, continue to be the way they are, if we take government, we will not participate in such a nonsensical gathering where our leaders go there. When they speak, certain leaders walk out. They do not want to listen what is coming from Africa. We will not accept that. So coming back to the issue of Sadak, they observed the elections. They mandated a chairperson from Zambia. And the chairperson from Zambia, I must say, Nevas Mumba, did say a number of things. And the number of things that he was saying did not necessarily represent entirely what the organ was going to say. When that thing progressed, you realize that at the end of the day, they came up with the recommendations. Those recommendations are recommendations that Zimbabwe must take into account in the future elections. It is not recommendation that then supersedes the sovereignty of Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe has got its own institutions that can decide. For us as the EFF, we believe that Sadak can say what we must do, but we must also understand that what we must do as the people of Zimbabwe, we can sit down around the table and resolve those things ourselves. And you realize that the other problem that we have with the chairman that was emanating from Zambia is that he's coming from a platform where particularly the imperialist forces have taken over the country. If you look very closely, imperialist forces has targeted 3 fundamental countries: targeted Tanzania, targeted Zambia, and targeted a country like Ghana. Ghana, you've got the Kwame Nkrumah, you've got the Julius Nyerere, you've got the Kenneth Kaunda, who were the pillars of political freedom in Africa. Right now, we hear that there is something that has been said in Zambia. We do not have yet evidence. That's why I'm saying something. We need to have evidence. I'm talking to our comrades in Zambia, their comrade Kasonde Mwenda, who is the leader of the EFF, to verify what is going on. But we are told that the people of Zambia are suffering. Really meal cannot be afforded. The people of Zambia have been promised by HH a number of things, but it's not delivered. But HH, Nelson Chamisa, Musi Maimane, Steinhazen, Bobby Wine, all these boys are twerking for imperialism. So how do you expect EFF to work with those who are twerking and flirting with imperialist forces to support what they are saying, or it is a plot to undermine the sovereignty of the continent? Look at Botswana. If you go there, Botswana, America has got some army bases there. And army bases, comrades, does not mean that it's just a pile of tanks and all that. No, they've got a weapon that can hit Harare or Pretoria within seconds. And those weapons are mounted. And they've got to point somewhere. Where are they pointing? The ones that are being mounted in Zambia, where are they going to be pointing in our continent? Do we really need those in the continent? So for us as the EFF, you must understand that the way we are looking at this thing is totally different from any other opposition. Someone will come back and say, no, EFF is talking about sovereignty, is talking about expropriation of land, is talking about that it doesn't support sanctions. We don't support sanctions. But then someone will come up and say, EFF is ZANU-PF. If talking about sanctions, if talking about land, if talking about borderless Africa, if talking about the unity of the continent, talking about the security of the continent, talking about the continent having a permanent seat in the Security Council means that we are ZANU-PF, then let it be. But the truth of the matter, we are a revolutionary movement moving forward to deliver economic freedom, not only to Zimbabwe, but the entire continent.
Guys, if you're just joining us, this is the Breakfast Club. This is Asake Online. My guest for this morning is Innocent Ndibali, the president of EFF Zimbabwe, joining me to unpack their objectives, their vision as the party, and what do they stand for as the party. Let me move on to the issue of Pollard. You know, there's the political actors dialogue where political parties come together and dialogue. I spoke to Monzor on this on a different platform from site as well. I spoke about the issue of dialogue. I spoke to Zapu spokesperson and spoke about the issue of dialogue as well. As the EFF Zimbabwe, do you believe in Pollard and dialogue?
We believe that as Zimbabweans, we must talk more. We do not know each other to start with. So how do we expect someone from outside to come and talk to us? We must talk to each other so that we can get to know each other. I'm aware that in the past, I'm not aware about now whether that program continues. EFF, want to put this clear. EFF contested the 2018 elections under a coalition which was led by Mai Mujuru, the Rainbow Coalition. After the elections, Pollard was set up. It means that a Rainbow Coalition was part of Pollard. But we did not attend in our own right. There were people who were representing the Rainbow Coalition. But the Rainbow Coalition crumbled afterwards, meaning that we were now on our own after the 2023 elections. So now I'm not aware that Pollard has been reconstituted or is still there. But if that was the case, I believe that it is a platform, it is probably a good progressive platform, but it must really deliver real stuff. It must not be a platform that is there to go and drink coffee, to go and stay in hotels. It should not be about that. It should be about the people. How do we deliver free education in Zimbabwe? How do we deliver economic freedom in such a way that the bread and butter issue should not be the issue? How do we build more schools? How do we bring artificial intelligence in our schools? How do we ensure that our clinics are open 24 hours? How do we do that? So it should be that. It should not be that we are just going there to listen to someone talk and then go home. No. If the EFF is going to be involved in this kind of platform, let me tell you, it's just like if we go to parliament. That parliament is going to be turned into something else. Forget about those old people who are sleeping. We will wake them up. Forget about Triple C MPs, useless. All the MPs opposition that has ever had, useless. Tell me anything that they've delivered. One, nothing. They've delivered nothing. So it is only us, if we go into platforms like Pollard, we go into platforms like Parliament, we go into platforms like subcommittees in Parliament, we'll be able to deliver. Because one of the conditions that we are putting forward is that we want land to be expropriated. Indigenization and expropriation of land are two different things, but that is a subject for another day.
So we can argue and say, in 2000, there was issue of land reform program in Zimbabwe done by the late president from Robert Mugabe, right? What's your reaction to the land reform program? Was it done well? Was it done accordingly to remove the owners of the land and give land to the black people that EFF subscribed to, give land to the black people? Was it done well, the land reform program in Zimbabwe?
The land program in Zimbabwe was overdue. Look, the reason why our forefathers went to war, it was because of land. So there were some arrangements that were made between Zimbabwe and obviously the British. You remember the letter that came from Clay Short that was directed, I think, to President Mugabe about the issue of land. And we believe that there could have been maybe a best formula that should not have resulted in anyone losing life over land. It should have been done in such a way that the land was delivered to our people, but no one should have died. But we believe that in the absence of any other formula, we may as well have been going to conference after conference without the land being resolved. And you remember that the land issue was not necessarily led by the ZANU-PF. It was led by the war veterans. The war veterans under the capable leadership of Comrade Muzu. I think it is fair to say the war veterans were taking the lead. I think the president at the time allowed the process to continue. And we believe that the land reform program should never be reversed. We have made it very clear, openly clear, to say no one should be compensated. I know that we have seen that there has been talk of compensation, but I think clarity has been provided to a certain extent to us to say that the compensation that is being referred is to Bipa farms, and also that is going to compensate whoever is going to be mobilized by those who want to be compensated. Because what you are going to have, if you compensate those farmers, they are going to take the capital from Zimbabwe and go and farm even more in Zambia using the capital. Who is going to compensate my grandfather who lost their chickens and their cows? Who is going to compensate the farm worker who lost their jobs? When people took land, when they first came, they took chickens, they took livestock. Who compensated them? So if you've got a stolen property and you then go and change the number plate of my Honda Fit and you put some spoilers, you want me, when I found you with my Honda Fit, to compensate you for putting those spoilers? How upset is that? We should never compensate. Land reform was done, but obviously should not have been such that people lost their lives. But we understand that in the absence of alternative, because remember we come from a revolutionary point where we've got, there was this song that our forefathers used to sing. They used to sing like, "Yini socialism, mhlaba wonke sandleni sabantu." What were they talking about? They were talking about land. Now, we hear some people talking about things must go back to where they were before and all that kind of. That's why EFF can never be part of a tracking brigade. It cannot be.
Mr. President of the EFF Zimbabwe, in the run to the elections, right? In one of the rallies, ZANU-PF, SG, that's Dr. Obedimbo, said that there's no need for the opposition parties in Zimbabwe. What's your reaction to that as the opposition party and leader of the EFF Zimbabwe?
I think with due respect, I think I totally disagree with him. There is room for opposition. We must hold those in government. We must hold them accountable. There must be checks and balances. Zimbabwe is a multi-party democracy that allows political party to flourish. I think maybe, I don't think he was talking from a position of government. I think he was talking from campaigning. You say when you are campaigning, you say so many things, but those things do not necessarily, mean that is what it is. No, we've got space, and EFF will continue to grow. And the only political party that will be able to match ZANU-PF is the EFF. I can tell you, it may not be under my leadership. It is the EFF. But we are not here to just remove or to collapse ZANU-PF. We are not interested. I always say we are like shops. We bought Pick and Pay, you bought Spa. You can go to Pick and Pay, you find that Pick and Pay is selling potatoes. And you go to Spa, they are selling potatoes. But what is different is that Spa may package the potatoes differently. And the Pick and Pay do differently. But it does not mean that Spa is going to go and close down Pick and Pay. No. We are going to grow our shop and attract people to our shop by packaging our message, our ideology, our perspective, our radical perspective. It doesn't mean being radical, it means being violent or being militant, it means being disruptive. If you look very well, the way that EFF that I lead will never be a thing that you think is a Mickey Mouse or merry-go-round or going with the wind. Comrade the CIC told, I think, an interviewer a few months ago, he said the EFF does not go with the wind. It creates the wind. We are the wind. So we are not like these opposition that go with the wind like this, where you have these boys, or Stalos, talking whatever, speaking socialism, yet is in a capitalist party, talking socialism. One thing that you don't realize is that Comrade Chamisa is trying to mimic our CIC. He is calling himself CIC, champion of what? But actually it's a hidden commander-in-chief. Okay? So you need to see that as journalists that he is calling himself the commander-in-chief, but he's calling himself the chief champion or whatever it is. They want to be driving capitalist perspective, but singing EFF, songs. Right now we are in campaign. We are campaigning, comrade. And when we campaign the EFF, our structures transform into coordinating, campaign coordinating teams. And we've got a slogan for campaign, specifically for campaign, because when we go to campaign, we are in war. We are going to war. We've got this slogan where we say to our members, Sipeteni. Our members will say, Spetimpi. Sipeteni, Spetimpi. We'll say, Ikala ngapi. Ikale telen, ikala pambili, ikale muva. Ikala ngapi. ikhale eceleni, ikhala phambili, ikhale emuva. Watinta thina, watinta amabhubezi. You see, it's there across EFF. So we are not this small thing that people are talking about. And I have seen that people think that EFF exists in Zimbabwe. We exist in Chireti. We exist in Harare. We exist everywhere. We've got so many people who are joining EFF, even some that are joining online, all over the country. They love EFF. And some people then come around and say, Chamisa is popular. Popular where? Japreza is popular. Winky D is popular. Does it make them alternatives? Chamisa is just as good as Enzo. That's it.
Well, let's wrap up the show this morning, Mr. Ndibali. There's an issue now in terms of 100 days of office. Suppose EFF Zimbabwe wins the presidency, the MPs and councillors. In 100 days of office, how will you tackle the following issues? Issue of water, issues of education, issue of health. Give us your 100-day plan for the EFF Zimbabwe in closing.
The EFF has got what is called cardinal pillars, non-negotiable cardinal pillars. Those non-negotiable cardinal pillars are a guiding, are a roadmap. The priority, if you look across the country, right now we are facing a situation where we can have drought. There's no water. Water must be prioritized. When we talk of nationalizing land, people say, no, you can't nationalize land, you can't nationalize banks, you can't nationalize this. But water is a nationalized commodity. So we will make sure that people have got free, quality, decolonized education. We will increase investment in education. We will increase investment in infrastructure rehabilitation. Zimbabwe must be turned into a building site. We will rebuild the buildings that you see in town. We will rebuild the roads. We will rebuild bridges. Zimbabwe, across, regardless of which region, it must be developed. So within 100 days, we are going to prioritize the basic commodities, especially where people cannot afford food. Food, water, and shelter must be prioritized, which means that land must be prioritized. You see, we talk about land expropriation in Zimbabwe, but people think that, people of Ngo's mine, they have expropriated that land without compensation. People who are farming these small plots around, they've expropriated land without compensation. And we want those pieces of plots to be formalized and to be given to the people so that they own those pieces of land. So we are even saying that perhaps when people see open spaces like Woblawala, I see a lot of open spaces, yet people have got no accommodation, they've got nowhere to stay. I think people must start thinking about those kind of things. And we'll prioritize the roads. My brother in Blawa in town, you find Amasayo Zorkwako, I think in the next few days, as we are campaigning in the city of Blawa, we are going to use our volunteers to carry a hammer, there's pigiri, belungise Amasayo Blawa. We'll see our EFF volunteers across Blawa. We are not going to wait for Coltad. Who's Coltad? Yes, yes, we don't care. We want him to deliver. We don't care about this girl, but we won't wait for him. People say Coltad, say Coltad. Me as the leader of EFF, I'm telling Coltad that he's failing to deliver already. They are busy with our records. They are failing to deliver our basics. Water is dirty. Ama sewage are to wuga okoko, very old people. Ama sewage, ama yati yabona kwekwe. Atweli kumalonke abantwana badlala nge-sewage. I've been, in Makwekwe. And the people, it's a sad situation. And people are saying, thank you, Coltad. Coltad by now, is now a building site. He's fixing Izulu Lingana. amanzi are all over because ama-drains, they are clogged up. Contact and clog the drains as a priority. If we are to avert diseases like typhoid, cholera, and clog those things.
Speaking of the cleanup campaigns, I also always see the EFF CIC in South Africa. They understand a campaign where they clean up the cities, where they run and manage the cities. As EFF Zimbabwe, are you not part of any cleanup campaigns? I saw in the CCC under Culture, they have this big cleanup campaign. Why are you not part of these cleanup campaigns to assist the people out clean?
No, we are doing our own share, but we have got no problem to join in and work with others. But you see, for us as revolutionaries, we look very closely to differentiate between activities of imperialist forces to please certain funders so that they can release money. So we are not going to be part of some groupings that are wanting or twerking to someone so that they can see that they are doing something, sweeping so that they can get the donor monies and use the donors to fund CCC. We are not going to be part of that. EFF is as capable to do its own cleanup. We've done it in Lobengula when we were campaigning. We did the roads in Lobengula. We are going to be building a public toilet in Lobengula. We supported a young lady who was very ill in Lobengula. We assisted the family. We worked with the family. So we are as capable. So we in EFF, we love ourselves, Shell. We love cleanliness. And sometimes some people, I've seen people saying, the leader of EFF, somebody koge Gucci, kumbe Balenciaga or something. We are not exempt of poverty. We are fighting to defeat poverty. It doesn't mean that therefore some feasibility when we come to your house, we come see clean. Now figure the levels of campaign and so they figure it's no. If I get roll on in case yeah.
Lastly, if someone wants to join the EFF Zimbabwe, how can they join? Briefly, how do they join EFF Zimbabwe and where do they find offices in Bulawayo?
Like our offices along Robert Mugabe, Jubilee Court. I think it's office 6. They can go straight there. There is a permanent person who is in the office, the national organ, Comrade Ndibali, and the Deputy Secretary General, Comrade Tembi. They are always in the office. Or they can go online on the EFF website. If they say EFF Zimbabwe, usually it may take you to the Twitter, but you see the website. If you go there, there is a section that says how to be a member. So they can join online. That online sends an email to the national SG, which then they can be contacted and can be directed to the structures. Right now we are launching what is called polling station command teams. Our lowest structure is a polling station command team. So polling station command teams are the ones that we are launching countrywide because we are an organic organization that must work with the ground, that must be with the ground. So they can join, feel free, or they can actually, contact the EFF in South Africa. Those in South Africa can go to the offices of the EFF and they request, find out how they can join. If you've got the card of EFF in Zimbabwe, EFF Zimbabwe, if you've got the problems in South Africa, go with your card and talk to the EFF, they will assist you because we are one. Comrade Malema is our commander-in-chief. I'm the president of EFF Zimbabwe. So EFF in Zimbabwe, EFF in South Africa, we are one. We are not different, we are one.
So Ndibali, thanks so much for your time. Thanks so much for coming to the Breakfast Club this morning.
Thank you so much for having me and very much appreciate to have had us here. Thank you so much.
Well, there you have it. That was Innocent Ndibali, the president of EFF Zimbabwe. He was our guest this morning on the Breakfast Club on Asake Online, speaking many things about the issues of objectives, what do they stand for, and how you can join EFF Zimbabwe to become a member of their party. Please do tune in and more of our shows on site, on Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook. From myself, Brighton Ncube, it's bye for now.